Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. Carl Jung. What happens when we refuse to face our inner demons? What becomes of a society that tries to silence its shadows rather than confront them? Today we embark on a journey through the mysterious uncharted waters of the human psyche to explore a phenomenon that is reshaping our world. Cancel culture. Cancel culture, a buzzword of our time, is more than a modern social phenomenon. It is a psychological event, a manifestation of Jung's concept of the shadow on a collective scale. When we cancel someone, whether a public figure, a colleague, or even a friend, we may think we are acting out of righteousness. But is it really that simple? Or are we projecting our darkest fears and insecurities onto others, making them scapegoats for the very things we refuse to see within ourselves? Imagine for a moment the shadow. It's not just a dark figure following us in the sunlight. It is everything we have repressed, ignored, and denied about ourselves. Jung taught us that the shadow holds both our most shameful weaknesses and our untapped potential. It's paradoxical. The more we suppress it, the more power it gains over us. And now it's not just individuals wrestling with their shadows. Entire communities, nations, and even global societies are locked in this dance. Cancel culture is the battleground where this drama unfolds. It appears as a pursuit of justice, a demand for accountability, and yes, these are noble aims. But as we dive deeper, we find that justice without introspection can become a weapon, cutting down not only its target but the wielder as well. In this monologue, I want to take you on a journey, a poetic and psychological exploration of what cancel culture means in the context of Jungian psychology. Together, we'll uncover how the shadow fuels this phenomenon, why we're so quick to condemn, and how embracing our own darkness might offer us a path to true understanding. The stage is set, the collective mirror. A wave crashes upon the shore, not water, but voices fierce and raw, a tide of judgment swift and sure, a digital storm we all endure. The internet is our theater now where outrage is king and we all bow. Tweets and posts, a million cries, each finger pointing, each one denies. Deny what? The shadow within, of course, a beast untamed, a mighty force. When we see in others what we fear in our hearts, we rip them apart, tearing truth into parts. Yet this spectacle is not new. Jung foresaw what we'd come to rue. The shadow grows where light does not reach, and it teaches us lessons we refuse to teach. As we explore this stage together, remember this. Cancel culture is not just a reaction to wrongdoing. It's a mirror. And in that mirror, we see reflections of ourselves, distorted, uncomfortable, but undeniably human. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Carl Jung. In the flickering light of social media screens, the stage is crowded with shadows. These aren't the subtle silhouettes cast by daylight, but towering, exaggerated forms, dark, distorted reflections of our own selves. The concept of the shadow, as Jung described, is not inherently evil. It is simply the part of us we choose not to acknowledge. Yet, when left unexamined, it takes on a life of its own, wreaking havoc both within and without. Cancel culture thrives in this space of unacknowledged shadows. When someone is called out, we are often quick to join the chorus of condemnation. Why? Because perhaps unconsciously we recognize a piece of ourselves in the one being judged. Their flaws, their missteps, they echo our own hidden fears, the things we've buried deep to protect our carefully curated identities. The dance of projection. The crowd assembles loud and vast, each voice condemning the outcast. Yet pause a moment. Take a look. Whose sins are written in the book? For every flaw we loudly see reflects a truth we long to flee. Projection's dance begins to play, as shadows march in harsh array. Jung believed that projection is the act of attributing our own disowned traits to others. It's easier, after all, to point out the selfishness in a celebrity than to confront our own moments of greed. It's less painful to denounce a stranger's ignorance than to admit the limits of our understanding. Cancel culture then becomes a stage where this psychological drama unfolds on a grand scale. The public figure, whether a politician, artist, or influencer, becomes the sacrificial lamb. We place upon them the burden of our shadows, casting them out as if by banishing their flaws we can purify ourselves. But here's the catch. The more we externalize our shadows, the stronger they grow within us. The trap of perfection, a world of glass where none may err, where all are perfect beyond compare. But crack that glass, and there you'll find the human flaws we've left behind. Cancel culture is often driven by a pursuit of perfection, an unattainable ideal that no human can live up to. We demand accountability, but sometimes what we seek is not justice but punishment. Why? Because punishing another feels momentarily like exorcising our own guilt. This is the trap Jung warned us about. By striving to eliminate the imperfections in others, we avoid facing our own. It's a convenient distraction, but it comes at a cost: division, hostility, and the loss of empathy. Imagine for a moment a society that acknowledges its shadows. Instead of canceling, we converse. Instead of condemning, we reflect. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it does mean understanding it, not just in others, but in ourselves. The shadow and empathy beneath the surface, deep and vast, lay secrets hidden from our past. The shadow whispers, soft yet clear, to know yourself you must draw near. Imagine if, when faced with the failings of others, we asked, "What does this say about me?" Instead of projecting our fears, we might see opportunities for growth. Empathy would replace outrage, and dialogue would replace division. But empathy requires courage, the courage to face our own darkness, and that is no small task. Jung himself admitted people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And yet, facing our souls is the very thing that might save us. The call to reflection. So here we are at a crossroads. Cancel culture offers a seductive illusion that we can cleanse society of its flaws by casting out its offenders. But Jung's teachings remind us of a deeper truth. The only way to heal society is to heal ourselves. The shadow cannot be defeated, it must be integrated. To cancel others is to deny this integration. But to understand, to empathize, to reflect, this is how we truly grow. What would happen if we turned the spotlight inward, even for a moment? The stage would still be crowded with shadows, yes, but those shadows might begin to soften, to shrink, and to transform into something altogether more human. Part 3. The Price of Denial. 1,000 words. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung. Denial of the shadow comes at a steep price. It does not simply vanish when ignored. It festers, grows, and emerges in distorted forms. Cancel culture, seen through Jung's lens, is one of those forms. It is the collective enactment of a psychological mechanism, denial and projection on a societal scale. But what does this denial cost us as individuals and as a community? The individual's burden. In the heart of every cancellation lies a paradox. The act of exposing someone else's flaws is often accompanied by an unspoken fear. What if this same spotlight were turned on me? This fear is not unfounded. As the cycle of cancel culture churns, its reach grows indiscriminate, and its criteria ever shifting. A single tweet, a poorly phrased comment, a pace mistake, any of these can become the catalyst for outrage. For the individual, this creates a psychological burden. Fear of judgment leading to self-censorship. Anxiety about being misunderstood or misrepresented. A sense of isolation as authenticity becomes a liability, but the real tragedy lies deeper. By focusing so intently on the perceived flaws of others, we rob ourselves of the opportunity for introspection. Jung believed that enlightenment, the integration of the self, requires facing our darkness, not hiding from it. Denying the shadow is like locking away a part of our soul, only to discover that the key is missing when we need it most. The collective wound. In the wider context, the denial of the shadow creates fractures in the social fabric. What begins as righteous indignation often devolves into polarization. Dialogue turns into shouting matches, empathy into scorn, and the potential for growth is lost in a haze of hostility. Let's paint a picture. A crowd gathers, pitchforks in hand, a digital mob across the land. Each voice declares, "We're in the right." While shadows grow out of sight, the internet, once a tool for connection, becomes a battlefield. Communities splinter into echo chambers, each convinced of their moral superiority. Nuance is sacrificed for simplicity, and the complexity of human nature is reduced to hashtags and sound bites. This collective wound runs deep. It manifests in loss of trust. As divisions grow, trust in institutions, leaders, and even neighbors erodes. Paralysis of progress. Fear of backlash stifles creativity, innovation, and honest conversation. Cycle of shame. Public shaming becomes normalized, perpetuating a culture of fear rather than understanding. Jung might remind us here that every act of denial carries a shadow price. The more we suppress the shadow, the more power it gains, shaping our collective behavior in ways we fail to recognize until it's too late. The paradox of perfection. To deny the shadow is to chase an illusion, perfection. But perfection is an impossible standard. Jung understood that human beings are inherently flawed, and these flaws are not weaknesses but opportunities for growth. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. In cancel culture, the demand for perfection becomes its own trap. The expectation that individuals must be spotless, unerring, and perpetually aligned with societal norms leaves no room for growth, learning, or redemption. Mistakes as teachers. Every error, every misstep holds a lesson. By denying others the chance to learn from their mistakes, we deny ourselves the wisdom those lessons could offer. Humanity and vulnerability. Our flaws make us human. They connect us, inspire empathy, and remind us of our shared struggles. The pursuit of perfection is not only futile but dehumanizing. It strips away the very essence of what it means to be alive, the capacity to err, to reflect, and to evolve. Reclaiming the shadow. What would happen if instead of denying the shadow, we embraced it? Imagine a society where mistakes were met with curiosity instead of condemnation, where the question was not how do we punish, but what can we learn? The shadow has much to teach us. It is the repository of our creativity, our resilience, and our untapped potential. By integrating it, we reclaim parts of ourselves that we didn't even know we had lost. Integration over denial. Accepting the shadow allows us to see ourselves and others more fully. Empathy over judgment. Understanding our own flaws fosters compassion for the imperfections of others. Healing over division. By facing the shadow, we break the cycle of projection, paving the way for genuine connection. The turning point. A candle burns in darkest night, its flicker soft, its glow so slight, yet from this spark a fire may grow, a warmth to melt the shadow's snow. We are at a turning point. Cancel culture has shown us the dangers of collective denial, but it also holds a mirror to our potential. If we choose to face our shadows, not just as individuals but as a society, we may find a path to healing. The question is not whether the shadow exists, it always has, and it always will. The question is whether we have the courage to look it in the eye. Where there is light, there must also be shadow. Where there is shadow, there must also be light. Carl Jung. The interplay of light and shadow is the essence of existence. Just as day gives way to night and the sun rises again, our inner worlds are defined by the balance of our virtues and flaws. Jung's work consistently emphasizes this duality, arguing that to deny one's darkness is to deny one's humanity. In the context of today's global crisis, social polarization, misinformation, and escalating tensions, the refusal to reconcile our shadows not only perpetuates conflict but blinds us to solutions. If we are to find balance, we must first understand the interplay between light and darkness within ourselves and the world around us. The false allure of purity, a gleaming sword, a polished shield, a battlefield where none will yield. Each claims the light, each calls it theirs, but none confronts the shadow's snares. In our pursuit of justice, we often frame the world in stark contrasts. Good versus evil, right versus wrong, us versus them. While this binary thinking offers simplicity, it comes at the expense of nuance. Jung warns us of the dangers of this mindset. By idealizing one side of ourselves and demonizing the other, we split our psyche. This split doesn't eliminate the shadow, it amplifies it, forcing it into the unconscious, where it festers and influences our actions in hidden ways. Cancel culture is a modern manifestation of this split. Public outrage often masquerades as righteousness but can devolve into moral grandstanding, a performance of purity that denies the complexities of human nature. What would happen if instead of striving for purity, we sought wholeness? Jung suggests that wholeness comes not from perfection but from the integration of opposites. To live fully, we must embrace the paradoxes within us. Compassion and accountability. We can hold others accountable without dehumanizing them. Strength and vulnerability. Admitting our flaws is not weakness but a sign of courage. Judgment and reflection. Criticism is valuable when tempered with self-awareness. The shadow of society. A city rises proud and tall, its banners high, its voices call, but in the alleys dark and deep, the shadow stirs, begins to creep. The shadow is not just an individual phenomenon, it also exists within society. Every culture, institution, and movement has its shadow, the parts it hides, denies, or suppresses. Consumerism. Beneath the promise of abundance lies the shadow of exploitation and environmental degradation. Technology. While connecting the world, it has also fueled division, isolation, and the spread of misinformation. Ideological movements. Even the most well-intentioned movements can fall prey to dogmatism, hypocrisy, or exclusion. When society denies its shadow, it creates blind spots. These blind spots prevent us from seeing the unintended consequences of our actions. For example, the rise of cancel culture, intended to promote accountability, often fosters fear and division instead. The light of self-awareness. Yet where the shadow dares to tread, the light can shine where fears have fled. For self-awareness is the key to set the inner captive free. Jung believed that self-awareness is the first step toward healing. By confronting our shadows, we not only reduce their destructive power, but also unlock their potential for growth. Consider this. The shadow contains aspects of ourselves that we have disowned: anger, jealousy, greed. But these traits, when understood and integrated, can be transformed into strength, ambition, and resilience. For society, the same principle applies. If we acknowledge the flaws in our systems, traditions, and ideologies, we can work toward meaningful change. This requires 1. Honesty, a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. 2. Dialogue, open conversations that bridge divides rather than deepen them. 3. Empathy, seeing the humanity in those we disagree with. A path forward. The night is long, the stars are few, the road ahead is dark yet true. Each step we take with shadows near brings light to that which we most fear. Rebalancing light and shadow is not an easy task. It demands introspection, courage, and patience. But the rewards are profound. For the individual, greater self-understanding, authenticity, and inner peace. For society, a culture that values complexity over simplicity, growth over punishment, and unity over division. Jung's teachings remind us that growth is not linear. It is a spiral, a journey of descent into the depths of the shadow and ascent into the light. By embracing this journey, we reclaim our humanity and our potential. As the world grapples with crises that test the very fabric of society, Jung's insights offer a beacon of hope. The answer does not lie in denying our darkness or in seeking an unattainable perfection. It lies in the courage to face ourselves, shadows and all. The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. For no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. Carl Jung. Every tale of transformation, whether myth, literature, or personal story, hinges on one profound truth. Redemption requires confrontation with the shadow. This journey is neither comfortable nor easy, but it is essential. Jung's work shines a light on this universal path, showing us that our greatest potential often lies buried within the very darkness we fear to face. In this final chapter of our exploration, we delve into the power of redemption. How do individuals and societies rise from their darkest moments? What role does the shadow play in this process? And what can we learn from Jung about the art of transformation? The individual's journey of redemption. Picture this. A man walks a winding trail through storms and shadows, strong and frail. Each step reveals what he must find, the hidden corners of his mind. For the individual, redemption begins with self-confrontation. Jung believed that we cannot change what we do not acknowledge. The act of facing the shadow requires immense moral effort because it challenges our ego, the part of us that craves control and comfort. Steps on the path to redemption. 1. Recognition. The first step is to recognize the shadow's presence. This means acknowledging our flaws, biases, and destructive tendencies without judgment. 2. Acceptance. Acceptance does not mean condoning the shadow's actions, but understanding its origins and purpose. 3. Integration. The final step is to integrate the shadow, transforming its destructive potential into creative energy. Jung described this process as the individuation journey. It is the path to becoming one's truest self, not by rejecting the shadow, but by embracing it. Just as individuals embark on a journey of redemption, so too must societies. Throughout history, moments of collective crisis have often led to profound transformation. Revolutions, civil rights movements, and cultural renaissances are all examples of societies confronting their shadows. Consider these historical arcs. 1. The Civil Rights Movement. The shadow of systemic racism in the United States came to light, sparking a movement that demanded equality and justice. While the journey is far from complete, the acknowledgement of this shadow was a crucial step. Second, post-war reconciliation in Germany. After the atrocities of World War II, Germany faced its shadow, creating a culture of remembrance and accountability. 3. Environmental awakening. The global climate crisis has forced humanity to confront the shadow of unchecked industrialization and consumption, the cost of avoidance. But what happens when societies refuse to face their shadows? The cost is immense. Without redemption, the shadow grows unchecked, leading to cycles of conflict, oppression, and stagnation. Take, for example, the perpetuation of inequality. When societies deny the shadow of economic disparity, they sow the seeds of unrest. Similarly, the denial of historical injustices leads to generational trauma that echoes through time. Jung warned of the dangers of this avoidance. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. The same applies to societies. Denied shadows manifest externally in wars, social upheavals, and ecological crises. Redemption through collective consciousness. Redemption is possible, but it requires a collective awakening. Just as individuals must confront their shadows, societies must cultivate what Jung called collective consciousness. This is the process of bringing hidden truths to light, fostering dialogue, and creating space for healing. Key elements of collective redemption. 1. Education. Understanding history, psychology, and systemic dynamics is essential. Awareness precedes action. 2. Dialogue. Open conversations between diverse groups can bridge divides and uncover shared humanity. 3. Accountability. Redemption requires owning past mistakes and committing to change. This is true for both individuals and institutions. The transformative power of art and storytelling. A canvas stretched, a tale retold in hues of truth, both bright and bold. Art's hand reaches where words may fail to touch the heart, to lift the veil. Jung recognized the power of art and storytelling in the process of redemption. Myths, literature, and even modern media serve as mirrors of the human psyche. They allow us to project our shadows, confront them, and envision new possibilities. In today's world, art remains a vital tool for societal healing. Films and literature, stories of resilience and redemption, inspire individuals to face their own challenges. Music and performance. These forms connect us emotionally, reminding us of our shared struggles and triumphs. Activist art. Murals, sculptures, and installations provoke thought and challenge societal shadows. By engaging with these mediums, we participate in the collective journey toward wholeness. Redemption is a lifelong process. The road to redemption is not a single act, but a continuous journey. Shadows reappear as we grow and evolve, each time revealing new lessons. This is the essence of Jung's teachings. Redemption is not about eradicating darkness, but about finding balance. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, Jung's wisdom reminds us to turn inward, to seek the light within the shadow. This journey, though daunting, holds the promise of transformation for ourselves and for the world. Let us walk this path together, embracing the shadow and the light and finding redemption in the balance.